Hello everyone, this is Edray1416 here with another controversial video on another United States president. His name is Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democratic president that became president in 1963, but won the 1964 presidential election in an underhanded tactic and refused to seek presidency for 1968 over the Vietnam War. LBJ was a proud member of the deep state and did whatever he could to get that power just for the weight of a nation that nearly collapsed due to a massive division in the Democratic Party and the likes that have never been seen before. Before we talk about 1968, let's talk about the rise of LBJ's power. In 1960, Senator John Fitzgerald Kennedy of Massachusetts sought to be nominated for the Democratic Party. LBJ was basically chosen to help secure votes in the South for JFK. Did JFK know that Johnson was part of the establishment? That's a possibility. Nonetheless, the 1960 presidential election was the most controversial in United States history for the sole fact that it took over 2 days before JFK was declared the victor. This was also the last time a president got elected without winning the state of Ohio. But there were some apparent controversies. The reason why JFK won the state of Illinois was because of the political powers of Richard J. Daley, a super-liberal mayor of Chicago. The electoral votes in Illinois is based on the votes from the Chicago area. If you look at the state of Illinois, the majority of popular voters are conservatives for the most part. Illinois is very conservative, but the political powers in Chicago are the reasons why JFK won the state of Illinois. JFK won the state of Missouri thanks to the St. Louis and Kansas City areas. Otherwise, Missouri for the most part is conservative. Had Richard Nixon won those states fairly, there's a possibility he could have won. So this election was controversial, but nonetheless, JFK and LBJ were the winners while Nixon's political career floundered. Then on November 22, 1963, JFK was assassinated. The conspiracies still go on to this day whether LBJ was responsible. Many people of the deep state were there at JFK's assassination. George H.W. Bush, Richard Nixon, Rafael Cruz, the father of Senator Ted Cruz, and LBJ himself. After LBJ became president, his first order of business was to lobby for a Civil Rights Act that first began during Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency. This is where the controversy comes in. During the 1964 presidential election, Republican Senator Barry Goldwater of Arizona read the Civil Rights Bill and analyzed it very carefully. Goldwater, among with many other people in Washington, hated the bill. Goldwater's reason was because the Civil Rights Act gave the government authority to impose regulations on minorities that own business and property. Someone from the Democratic Party apparently took Goldwater's statement out of context. The deep state obviously decided to slander Goldwater by calling him a racist to the point where a lot of black people switched over to the Democratic Party. As a result, this racist statement came out of LBJ's mouth saying that he'll have black people voting Democratic for the next 200 years. That's a pretty bold statement by a man that had no respect for black people personally. Yet he was heralded as a hero while Goldwater paid the price for telling the truth. Civil rights and property rights for the minorities should not have been interfered with by the government, and that was what Goldwater was trying to convey to audiences in 1964. So in addition to being a racist, what other reason why Lyndon B. Johnson is hated? The Vietnam War. America's involvement started in 1955 under Eisenhower's tutelage, but carried over to JFK. Before JFK was assassinated, Eisenhower suggested to JFK to bring American troops home by 1964. Kennedy agreed with Eisenhower's points, but the Democratic Party was upset. So when Lyndon B. Johnson became president, he lied to America by saying Vietnam's power was spreading all over Southeast Asia. Truth was that he ordered American troops to napalm Vietnam, which ultimately caused a lot of Vietnamese to be killed, not by the dozens, but by the millions. Ho Chi Minh got sick of LBJ's dirty tactics, so the Tet Offensive of 1968 was a payback strike that stunned America, causing an internal uprising in the states. So what was the Vietnam War really about, and why did America bomb Vietnam constantly under LBJ's orders? Control over the Vietnamese people. Vietnam had the wealth and LBJ wanted it by any means necessary. I mean, the notion of stopping the spread communism is simply erroneous. That was why LBJ couldn't take the flak anymore and chose not to seek the presidency of the United States for the second term. To recap why I hate LBJ, he was a liar, a racist, and a coward. The first of many presidents that demoralized America. That's why I hate Lyndon B. Johnson. Anyway, I'm Edray, and I'm out of here.